your music. Three-time Platinum Grammy nominated and award-winning artist. You've been singing starkly since the days of MySpace. What a transition. Can you talk can you talk about music and your own evolution through the years?
Yeah, I mean, it was my story is a lot like like artists that we hear about, like their stories where you grow up in a musical family and your parents played music while you cleaned, and I grew up in the church. I was a musician in the church, sang in the choir and all that stuff. I think the difference between my story and most people's story is that I was not very good at music. I was just passionate about it. Um, and I think that's probably like when I talk to people, when I talk to like younger artists and stuff, I think that's the most important part, because not everybody is born with the natural gift. But I think that if you have like the passion and you work hard enough, and you really really push yourself and really like work on not only that skill, but just your heart and your mind and all that stuff, I think anything is possible. So for me, it was just like a gradual journey through school, band, jazz band, working in recording studios, doing whatever I could to get studio time, and then eventually it turned into what it is now.
Okay, and I'm glad you said that because that leads me into my next question. As a drummer turned singer, why was songwriting the better fit for you breaking into the industry?
Probably because drumming didn't have anything to do with singing, and because I couldn't really sing, writing was an easier thing for me to get attention from. I had been trying to be an artist, and I was like, I saw myself as an artist, and I saw myself as more of like a Pharrell, Kanye, like hybrid producer, rapper, singer, more than like an R&B singer. But I think that getting into the songwriting side of it, having an understanding of rhythm and timing and cadence and pockets,
Right.
that I got from playing drums and from being a musician, I think that helped me to kind of like adapt and fit in and be comfortable in the studio and be comfortable around producers and stuff. And then like getting that time in the studio, in the booth, singing songs over and over and over and over and getting really harshly critiqued helped me to develop my voice and become an artist. But yeah, the musicianship and the like drumming definitely had a big part to do with why I got into songwriting first.
Okay. Now, when you were signed to a label, it was drilled into your mental framework that you must write hit records, tens, period.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
how do you stay in that creative space that you can write music that's above mediocrity?
I think it takes a balance. I think one of the most important things is like, I said there's probably three things. One is like living life and like experiencing things and going through emotions and going through different things. If you're always huddled up in the studio, if you're always working on records or always trying to make a hit, you're not going to have a lot to write about. So experience is important. I think that being honest with yourself and being like having integrity and writing about real stuff in your real life and not just like the idealized version of what you think stuff should be, but like really writing about good times and tough times. That makes it so you always have inspiration and you always have an edge to your music, because nothing is edgier than the truth. And I think the third part is like when you're dealing with stuff like writer's block where you don't have any ideas or any inspiration, you got to go like find stuff to inspire you. You got to listen to music. You can't always just make music. I think one of the struggles for a lot of creatives is that we don't get a lot of time to take in and appreciate art. We're always trying to make it and we're always trying to create it. But if you're always putting out and giving and sharing, you're gonna run out. So like I think it's a really important part. Like a really important part of it is like just taking time to listen to music, listen to stuff that's new, listen to stuff that's old, listen to stuff that you like, listen to stuff that you don't like, and learn how to appreciate it. I think those three things kind of help me to stay motivated and to stay consistent.
Awesome. Let's get into your latest R&B manifesto. Speaking of
Right.
consistency and just being a creative, back to me. What inspired that track?
Life, real life. That song, I have to give credit to the producer, E. Jones. That track, like the minute I turned that beat on, I still remember where I was sitting in the car in the parking lot at the studio. I think it was a Sunday, and I was getting ready to go work on something, and I played that. I was going through some tracks he just sent me, and I played that beat, and I just started singing. Like the first lines of the song came out, and I wasn't even sure like what I was saying. I was like, what, you didn't already said too much. What does that mean? So I had to figure out what the line meant because it felt so natural and it felt so good. And I had a hook in my head that I've been working on for maybe a year, the hook from that song. And I was going through just different ideas I had and trying to figure out how to make it make sense. And that hook came to mind. I was like, oh, maybe I ran into this girl that I used to talk to, and we're not supposed to be talking, but she's already kind of given me too much of a hint or a signal that she might miss me. So I know we're not supposed to be talking. I know I'm not supposed to have anything to do with her and vice versa, but like, I wonder if she's thinking about me or if she's thought about me. And then the kind of song kind of evolved from there. But mainly just real life and then just really good production is what inspired it.
Okay. And you said during a listening session recently that you were getting a little anxious before achieving the release of Be Good because things weren't moving at the pace you wanted it to move. What lessons did you learn during the persevering moments of your career where God had you stationary?
That everything's always going to be okay. And that these are really good questions. It's always going to work out. It's always, no problem. Yeah, it's always going to work out. That's the thing that was drilled into me. There's a song on the project called Hold On to Me. And that was the only, a lot of those songs were like, I had like a hook or a line or a bridge or something sitting around that I kind of built the rest of the song around. But Hold On to Me was the one that was like completely, that and Be Good were ones that were completely from scratch, where it was like the music inspired the full thing. And I had the idea and the concept and made it on the spot. And that was important to me because sometimes as a writer, you don't know if you still have it. You don't know if you can think of another idea or another song. I had written a record a couple of years ago called In My Feelings. And everybody that was like, this is a hit record. I don't know why this song is at number one and this and that. And I hear that a lot about different songs that I have. So after hearing it and seeing stuff not go where you expect it to go and not work how you expect it to work, it can kind of wear on you. So like working on this project and having to come up with these records and not being able to control everything, but having to kind of go with the flow taught me how to just relax and rest and just trust that everything's going to work out, because it ended up working out.
Okay. And you recently made a statement that the best advice that you can give as an artist is learning to let people down. Can you elaborate on that statement, the reason it's okay to disappoint others?
Yeah, because it's impossible to keep everybody happy. Everybody doesn't want what's best for you. There's people that will not be happy until you quit or until you give up or until you don't succeed, because they don't feel good about themselves. So there's some people that are going to have ulterior motives or pretend they want what's best for you, and they really don't. And they will put demands and expectations and limitations on you that have nothing to do with you, but are based off their own issues and their own problems and their own pain or their own unforgiveness. So learning how to identify those things and to give yourself grace to like not always be able to be on point, to not always be perfect, and not always get everything right. Sometimes you're going to have to cancel an appointment because you need to take a nap and take a mental health day. Sometimes you're going to have to say, no, I can't hang out with my friends because I got work to do. And like, I know you guys are all going to the club, but I can't do what I need to do until my music is playing in the club. So I got to sit this one out. So and not letting people pressure you into feeling like you have to do what they think makes sense or do what they think is successful. I was listening to, I was with my daughter, we're listening to this video on YouTube. It's like an audio documentary about the making of Thriller. And I was walking her through it, because I've heard it a few times. She's only 9. So I was telling her about how there were so many times where people wanted Michael to do certain things, or they didn't like his ideas, or his ideas didn't make sense. And he had to keep pushing and keep trying them and like go with what he thought made sense over what other people thought made sense. People that maybe had more money or more influence or more resources than he did, but he had to risk it. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to like tell people no, or sometimes you have to disappoint people in order to help them, to be honest. So that's where that came from.
Okay, which leads me into my next question. You knew that was coming. Music, and this is your words. Music can make you confident and insecure at the same time. So what advice can you give artists that's really stuck between one or the other, or just too confident and not confident enough?
I I think it has if you're doing it right, it should humble you and it should empower you. It'll keep you balanced. Like Janelle Monáe says, like you can't get too high, you can't get too low. Like you. So when you think that you don't have anything left, you just keep writing about your real life and being honest and working through stuff. It'll pull something out of you that you didn't know you had. And then sometimes when you think you got it all figured out and you got all the answers and you're the greatest to ever do it, something will happen to humble you and bring you right back down to a place where you realize that you have time to grow. I feel like once you stop growing, that's when you start dying. So I'm always about keeping a balance. I don't think there's anything wrong with confidence and having a huge amount of confidence, but I think with that confidence you need to weigh it down by the desire to grow and to inspire and to not only help yourself but to also pass that information and the knowledge and wisdom that you have down to other people. There's confidence was the thing I got from music. I couldn't look people in the eye and have a conversation with them. I couldn't get up in front of my classroom without having a panic attack. So me being on stage was mind blowing to people because they knew how shy I was, and I was always known for being quiet. So how is my voice this loud, and how is this person that was so introverted and so timid, now he's out on stage crawling around, rolling around on the ground, hollering and screaming and singing into this microphone like he's lost his mind. Mm-hmm. But it was because my music gave me a chance to be myself and to find myself. But then there's also times when I thought I had it figured out. I will never forget singing at this concert in Seattle. The place was packed out. There was a sold out club night. And they had me on the bill to headline it. And so many things went wrong that night. And I was like, this is meant to be. This is going to be the greatest show ever because everything is falling apart. So I know this is going to be the one. And I get up on stage and had one of the worst shows of my entire life. And then I'll never forget, they turned the lights on while I was still performing.
Oh, man.
And I was like, oh, my goodness. So it brought me back down to remind me that you still have work to do. So that's what I mean when I say music it'll have you confident and insecure at the same time, just to keep you in the middle.
Humble, humility. Okay.
Yes.
So what is one of your number one rules in professionalism that you live by as an artist?
There's something that an A&R I work closely with, a guy named Tommy Rodham. He's actually the one that kind of introduced me to the music industry in a way. Aside from being a local artist in Tacoma, he's the one that kind of got me on the scene in LA. And I have this note. It's like a artist to-do list or an artist guide for new artists or artists that I do development and stuff like that. And it's just a really long list of just things, goals and objectives and how to organize your career and your plans and things to study. And at the top of every one of those notes, it says this quote that Tommy told me. It said, if nobody doubts your dreams, then you aren't dreaming big enough. And that's something that's always stuck with me because it was funny to hear him say that because he was always the one that would kind of be super realistic and kind of let me know if I'm thinking too big or try to tell me I'm thinking too big. Or at least at that time I felt like that. And so for him to tell me to dream bigger was really cool because I realized that he knew the role that he was playing and he knew that it was my job and he wanted me to go beyond what he thought was possible. And so that's when I always try to remember and I always try to remind people is if nobody doubts your dreams, then you.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. Go ahead.
Oh, I was like.
I know. I'm sorry. This is all over the place. This is really unusual. I want to make sure to reassure you of that. I had a call prior run over, and I didn't realize it was on this line. But you guys go ahead and continue.
Thank you.
No worries. Oh, hello. Hello?
Tawanda, is her line?
I think her line's cutting in and out.
Oh,
Hello?
okay. Oh, there she is.
Okay, I hear you now.
Okay. Mm,
Hello?
hello. Have you guys
Hello,
been having
hello.
this? Have you been having this
Can you
problem?
hear me?
Oh, now we
I
can.
hear
No.
you now. No, yeah, I wasn't doing this before. It just started.
Weird.
Oh, I'm like, should I call back in?
Okay, now try it.
Hello?
Okay, yeah, I hear you now.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So I only had like 3 more questions.
Okay.
Making music during the pandemic, how did this help you to find ways to create without restraint?
I think sometimes restraint helps you to create. Sometimes having limitations and not being able to do everything you want to do, and being stuck in one place is good for creativity. And this was a really, like, there's a lot of change happening in my life and in my career right now at the same time. So the pandemic was just, I looked at it as more seasonings to what I'm already working on and cooking. So it definitely it forced me to sit down in one spot and deal with some stuff, but it also relieved me of a lot of like obligations and duties or things that I felt like I was obligated to do, and people that I felt like I had to like stay connected with and keep checking in with. Like, it gave me permission to like let a lot of things go and to grow past some stuff and to focus on myself and prioritize myself and my family and my daughter. So like, you get to the point where you don't have to. Everything is the pandemic's fault. So like, it's like, dang, I can't go to this event or this thing. I don't need to, and I don't want to, and I don't have the time to. But now I really don't have to, because this wouldn't even make sense for me to be there. So I think it helped me. I know it was hurtful for a lot of people and hurtful in a lot of ways. So I guess one of the things that it helped with was definitely like helping me to sit down and just focus on my music and focus on my family and focus on myself.
Okay. So I love that you take a lot of things into consideration, like music is super important for you, but also family. So
Right.
how do you find balance as a father in the industry?
I'm still figuring it out. I just every time, all the time that I have that's not for music is for my daughter. Right now she's downstairs doing her Zoom homework, and we're going to check back in as soon as I finish these Zoom interviews. Like, family's always been a big thing for me, and it's and she's just as much part of my story as my music is. Her birth and my success are like, this happened. All of it happened at the same time. She's what inspired me even writing the records and getting in the position that got me to where I am today. So like, I could never put that first or take my relationship with her for granted, because that's she's a part of who I am. I'm a part of who she is, and there's no music without that. I can write a million songs, and something can happen and my music can fall off the face of the earth. So like, I try to make sure that the things that are important, the things that are here forever, are the things that come first. So.
I love that. And what next for you?
Next is writing more records, working on doing some more like placement stuff, figuring out my publishing situation, and then putting out more music, doing more videos, and hopefully starting to finally get my like stream on Twitch, and doing some behind the music stuff, doing some like teaching people how to mix, how to write, doing more artist development stuff, just more music stuff and more interactive stuff, and just getting out there and connecting more with my audience.
Okay. And where can our listeners follow you and find your music?
You can find my music on all the different platforms, from Apple Music to Tidal, Spotify, all that good stuff, at willjordanmusic.com. The best way to keep up with me is on like Instagram and Twitter. My handle is at willjordanmusic. I try my best to respond to people as often as possible, especially if they leave comments, whether it's like just wanting musical advice or feedback on their stuff, or if they enjoy my music. It's really helpful to hear how people feel, because we never know as artists. Like, we think people like it, but like, you can never hear enough about how people feel about your stuff. It really motivates you to keep going, because this is a tough industry, and the business is telling us a lot of the opposite, and how stuff is not good, and how stuff is not good enough. So hearing from the people that like it, that they love it, is really, really helpful.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this interview, and best luck with everything.
No problem. Thank you.